Hey guys, welcome into another episode of The 14, where we're breaking down all of the SEC games from a betting perspective. Today, we're going to talk about the Missouri Tigers and Kentucky Wildcats in the first conference game of the SEC season. This game is going to be played at 7:30 Eastern on the SEC Network, and it's in Lexington at Kroger Field. Kentucky's favored by 5 points, and the over-under is 56. I'm here with our betting expert, Christopher Smith, to get things started. Christopher, what do you think about this conference matchup?
Yeah, Nick, how are you doing today? It looks like Kentucky's taking a little bit of money. They were minus 3.5 on the opener, and the over's taking a little bit of money up from 54.5. So I'm eager to see the first SEC game of the year, to see if Kentucky's offense is for real and if their passing game is legitimate. Why don't we get into Nick's news and notes and tell us what's going on in the headlines around these programs entering Saturday?
Sure. So let's talk about weather and injuries first. In terms of weather, it looks like we're going to get 82 and sunny for the high in Lexington, low of 63. So we're looking at probably somewhere in the 70s. No rain in the forecast. Wind seems to be minimal. So pretty good conditions for an evening kickoff there. In terms of injuries, Kentucky lost Taj Dotson to a groin injury in the week 1 win against ULM. And he's listed as questionable for the game on Saturday. And then for Mizzou, it's a couple of wide receivers who were, kind of missing from week 1 in Mookie Cooper and Jay Macklin. I'm not sure if they're going to get them back in time for this game or not. Some other things I'm looking at in this game are just, hey, this is the first conference game of the year. So from a betting perspective, things may tighten up a little bit as these teams are looking for their first mark in the SEC season. Last season, we saw Missouri beat Kentucky 20-10 in week 4. And a little bit of a surprising game that Mark Stoops said that his team was uncharacteristically out-physicaled in that game, which, is sort of Kentucky's hallmark under him, is to be the more physical team. So it was a little surprising outcome there. It broke a winning streak for the Wildcats. They had won the previous 5 matchups against the Tigers. It's actually a pretty close series since Mizzou joined the SEC. Kentucky has a narrow 5-4 edge in that head-to-head matchup. Another thing I'm looking at from the Kentucky standpoint is, man, how good was Will Levis in his debut with Kentucky? The Penn State transfer quarterback threw for 367 yards and 4 touchdowns in that 45-10 win over ULM. That's an easy win and a cover for that team, by the way, and they amassed 564 yards of offense. So pretty impressive for a Kentucky program that is usually a little short on the offensive side of the ball. And on the other hand, Missouri, they won their game against Central Michigan 34-24, but that was a little bit of a dogfight. I mean, that game was within 1 possession for pretty much the entirety of the game. But really a 25-carry, 203-yard performance from running back Tyler Beatty carried the Tigers to a win, and maybe answered some questions over what they were going to do without Larry Roundtree. So that's what I'm seeing from this game, Christopher. What are the keys to betting this game today?
Yeah, so you touched on Kentucky's offense a little bit, and I think I mentioned this last week, but I just feel almost sad as a football fan that Kentucky wasted last year's offensive line, because this is the most balanced Kentucky team that I can remember seeing on all phases of the game under Mark Stoops. And it would have been really, really nice to see that happening with the offensive line that they had last year, because it was incredible. But, you touched on Will Levis. Transfer Wan'Dale Robinson from Nebraska also played a huge role at receiver. And Josh Ali is a great number 2 at receiver, but we did see him drop a pass that led to an interception early. That's been a problem for him. But right now, Kentucky, I think, is the 3rd best team in the SEC East. And we'll see how that plays out on Saturday against Missouri. Now, you look at Missouri, and you mentioned their game against Central Michigan. They gave up 5 more first downs than they got themselves. They were outgained on total yards. They were just 1 of 11 on 3rd down on offense. And you look at the 24/7 Sports. I know they're normally known for their recruiting rankings, but they do something very interesting, which is their team talent composite rankings. And for that, Missouri is 45th and Kentucky is 31st. That's based on sort of the recruiting and transfer talent in their whole roster. And it's not normal that Kentucky has a pretty significant talent edge over an SEC team. And Stoops usually does pretty well when he has that. So Kentucky only gave up 0.4 yards per carry last week as well. I think Missouri's offensive line is a little suspect. It used to be a lot better than it is this year. So it may be up to Drinkwitz and QB Connor Basilek to kind of scheme up some winners and kind of try to catch Kentucky off guard, because just from a one-on-one matchup standpoint, when Missouri has the ball, I think Kentucky has a pretty big advantage there. So Nick, why don't you take us into our picks for this week? It looks like last week you were 14-9 and I was 13-10 on our game by game bets. And then I was 5-1 on my best bets, and you were 4-2. So we started out with a lot of winners this season. Let's see if you can take us home and start this week with another cash.
Yeah, fingers crossed that we do that well all season, right? We'll be making everybody a lot of money if that's the case. So I'm going to get on the board first. I like Kentucky -5 in this game. I'm actually really excited at the prospects of a Kentucky team with a really good quarterback. I think that, Stoops always brings a solid defense to the table. And if this team is dynamic offensively, this could be a team that makes some noise in the East this year. So give me Kentucky -5. But I do like the under 56. I feel like in a conference opener like this, maybe a little bit of nerves, a little bit of, field possession play early. And just looking back at last year's game where there were 30 total points scored, I feel pretty comfortable going under the 56. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not sure we see a dominating performance from Kentucky's passing game like we saw in the first week against basically an Olay defense at the bottom of the group of 5. But I do think the balance is key here. And I do think that Missouri has a couple of good players on defense in Rice transfer, Blaze Aldridge, who had 6 tackles for loss in week 1 by himself. And they do have a good defensive line, but I just don't see Missouri having the same talent level and coaching staff and team as Kentucky does. So I'll also take Kentucky -5. And I do think that on the other side of the ball, Missouri is going to probably struggle to score points in this game. So I'll also take under, and we'll have to find another game where we can disagree and have some more competition there. But for Nick Cole, I'm Christopher Smith for SEC 14. And we'll break down the rest of the games on this channel as well. So make sure you tune in for that.